Did you say that in the section post-election audit, did you say that that section is to be crafted?
The post-election audit is in the ordinance. It requires post-election audit within 7 days after an election.
Mm-hmm.
The way we're going to do it and the procedures will be drafted by board, or did some provisions, and the election commission will review it and adopt it. The precise procedures. You will, if you adopt this ordinance as written, it will require a post-election audit. The details will be worked out by the election commission.
Okay. Other comments?
Yes.
Go ahead, Tori.
Well, I guess I'm stuck on that one for a second. So, unless I'm not understanding you or not hearing you correctly, the details of it are yet to be worked out.
How we physically do it, how many precincts, how many contests, how they're counted, will be worked out by the election commission. You don't have to do that. You just have to adopt yes or no.
If I may,
Sure.
the manner in which any particular post-election audit is conducted really, in order to have it be statistically meaningful, depends on the outcome of the election, the type of different ballot styles that were used, the number of pieces of equipment that were deployed. So setting something in stone right now as to how many contests on a ballot you audit and on how many machines, I personally don't think is advisable. I think you want to see what the preliminary published results are and then make a determination to get the most statistically significant sample. That's the only portion of the post-election audit details that remains to be fleshed out. But that has to be kind of done in retrospect immediately after the election, after you see what the election results are and how it played out through all precincts in the city.
But Dwight, you could set an audit standard that would guarantee that a certain percentage at the minimum would be audited or something like that, couldn't you? You could say no less than 4% or 5% of the ballots will be audited and checked against the machine count.
I mean, I suppose you could, but I still think it's advisable to give the Election Commission some discretion in randomly selecting the ballots and the machines that you're auditing. For example, if poll watchers or citizens from hypothetical Precinct 4,
Wash County?
no, Precinct 4 in Aspen say, you know what, that machine was kicking out a lot of ballots. We really had trouble getting that machine to accept ballots. I think that's something the Election Commission should know in deciding which machines to audit.
Ward?
At a minimum, in our discussions, there will be one contest on one voting machine. So I think the one contest on one voting machine will probably reach that threshold of 4%. So randomly selecting one contest, whether it's a mayor's race or a council's race, and randomly selecting one of the 6 voting machines that the city has, and taking that contest and auditing those actual results of the ballots against the ballots. So you're going to have probably well over 4%, I would think, of the.
So you're going to take all the ballots that were counted by at the minimum a particular machine, so that machine already produced the result, and then you're going to hand count them to match?
Particular machine in a particular contest.
Okay, so like everybody who's running for, say, mayor, you would take that result from a machine and say it was 70 to 50, and then you would count that 120 ballots and see if it came out 70 to 50.
Yes.
Yes. And what happens if it doesn't? Then do you do more auditing?
Well, that opens a threshold of, it depends on how close the election is. If the mayor race was determined by 4 votes, and you have 1 or 2 votes discrepancy on that one audit, then it would be advisable, and the election commission, I think, would continue to audit that race on other machines. If that threshold is close enough to determining or changing the determination of that contest. Did I make myself clear?
Well, you made yourself clear, but I don't.
Just to be clear, Mick, you would never alter the tally of the results on the basis of a post-election audit. This is really just a mechanism to make sure our ballots are properly being read by our equipment. But if during the post-election audit a discrepancy is discovered in a particular sample that, when extrapolated to the election as a whole, could be sufficient to change the outcome of the race, then the election commission at that point can order a manual recount of everything. But you don't change the tally of a result
I understand that.
because you've done, you
Right.
found some discrepancy in
You
some
don't call
small
a guy up
sample.
and say, oh, you won by an additional 25 votes then.
Right.
Inside joke. But my question
Not that
is,
inside.
what I don't understand is why you don't take all the ballots that were cast all together and sample from them as opposed to from one machine. What if you got one bad machine and 5 good ones, and you didn't pick the bad machine and there's some kind of error?
Well, you have to select ballots that were tabulated on together on a particular machine. Otherwise, there is no way to square the results of the audit to the portion of the preliminary results represented by those ballots.
Well, but it seems to me that doesn't matter if auditing, if you combine all the ballots and you find an error rate, you don't care what machine it came from if it's a significant enough error to alter the outcome of the contest. So if you took 200 ballots at random and they hand counted 4% different from the way all those machines counted them, then if you had a sufficiently close contest, it seems you would say, okay, let's recount all of them.
But the problem is you have no way of determining going in how one or more machines tabulated that 200 randomly selected
But
ballots.
why do you care? Because it's not about whether a particular machine was accurate, it's whether the whole contest was accurate. So you don't care about the source of the error if you know there was an error.
But you do, no, but you have no way of knowing there's an error unless you're auditing all of the same ballots that were counted on a particular machine.
No.
Sorry.
Well, I understand what you're driving at, but well,